Hey guys, welcome to Herp Husbandry. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make an incubator out of a styrofoam cooler or a plastic cooler. You can use either. I just like to use styrofoam coolers because I can actually get them for free at my local Petco. If you call ahead, you can probably get them for free at yours too. Petco and PetSmart both give them away for free if you call ahead and ask. Just call them, ask them if they get them with their beta fish shipments, and then ask them if you can pick them up. So yeah, you can get them for free at most Petco or PetSmarts, and then you could also probably get them at most pet stores that sell beta fish will get them. So just if the store has beta fish, then it's worth a try. So you can get those for free at most places, and then if you can't get those for free or you don't want to use them for some reason, you can always use a plastic like Coleman cooler or something. They're not quite as easy to make because you'll have to drill whatever holes that you're going to make into it with a drill. You won't be able to just cut them out with a you won't be able to just cut them out with a knife like you would with a styrofoam cooler. And for that reason, I like to use a styrofoam cooler a little more. But if you're willing to do a little bit more work, a plastic cooler will probably last a little longer just because plastic is a bit more durable than styrofoam. So it's completely up to you. This video I'm going to be using a styrofoam cooler, so the way I'm doing it will probably work a little bit better if you're using a styrofoam cooler. But if you want to use a plastic one, just make whatever changes you need to get it to work. I'm really excited to show you guys, and I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so the first thing I want to cover is thermostats. So right here I have a BN-Link Century thermostat from Amazon.com, and this is a great little thermostat. I recommend it for most reptile uses. I use it in both of my leopard gecko's tanks, and I will be using it once my hatchlings, once my babies hatch. I will be using it for them as well. This is a great little thermostat. I love it. I will be definitely putting a link to it in the description below. But basically, it's really simple. You hold down the set button until the display flashes, and then you press the up or down buttons to get to the desired temperature at the probe, and then hit the set button to confirm, and then obviously you'll need to calibrate it to make sure you have the correct temperature, and because of course this isn't going to be exactly accurate, but it'll be, this one I like a lot because it's a lot more accurate than some other ones that I've used before. So I really like this thermostat, and definitely I will be putting a link to that in the description. But this is a great thermostat, and this is what I've been using for this incubator, just because it's what I had on hand. I wasn't using it for anything else, so I was using it for the incubator. And it works well for hatching cricket eggs, and probably also well for leopard gecko eggs, but it's not quite as good as some other options, and I'll explain why when I get to Herp stats and all of them. But the next one that I recommend is the Inkbird Stc-1000f Thermostat. That one has heating and cooling, which I really like, especially if you're in a warmer climate without air conditioning, where you would need a cooling system. I don't need a cooling system, but it's good to know that there is a way to have one on the thermostat to help keep it at a closer range. It's a nice little thermostat. It was actually cheaper than this one. This one is usually $20 on Amazon. The one that I got, the Inkbird Stc-1000f, is actually only $17.99, so about 18 bucks. So the Inkbird one actually works pretty well. The only thing I don't like about the Inkbird one is it's not plug and play like this one is. This one, you just plug it in, set it, and you're good to go. The Inkbird one, you actually have to do all of your wiring. There's no, like, it's just the computer. There's no plug on it, so there's, like, you have to install your own way to plug it into the wall. You have to install, it comes with a probe, but you need to install the probe, which is very easy because it's just screw-in contact plates, but still, it's not a lot of fun to have to do all this. And then it also doesn't come with some place to plug in your heating device. So you have to wire in your heating device. So it's definitely not something that is easy to set up in a hurry, but If you have a basic knowledge of electronics and are up for a bit of a challenge, the Inkbird Stc-1000f is definitely a very good thermostat. I like it a lot because it's very easy to just build into the front or side of the incubator, and it makes it look a little more professional in my opinion. So I like to use that one for my incubators just because it's cheap and it works well, and it's also very small. So I will show you that thermostat in a second here. But first, I'm going to go into Herp stats. Herp stats are probably by far the best option for incubators, and here's why. Herp stats use a different method of controlling electricity to the heating device than these ones do. So these ones, and the Inkbird one as well, use on-off switching. So it's basically just a relay switch that when it gets higher than the set temperature, it tells the relay switch to shut off, and so it keeps any electricity from coming out of here to the heating device and stops the flow of electricity. And then when it gets to a certain amount below that, it will turn the heat back on. The electricity back on, and the heat will start rising again. That's a very good method for applications that don't require a very tight range, like just a basking spot in the gecko's tank or something like that. And even for cricket egg incubators, it works well, just because cricket eggs are a bit more, they're a bit less sensitive to temperature fluctuations than reptile eggs are. But if you're incubating leopard gecko eggs or other reptile eggs, I would recommend that you get a Herp stat, because Herp stats are actually dimming, which basically means it will calculate how much electricity it should be sending to the heater to keep it at the right range, and then it will just send out that much. And it'll just slowly reduce or raise the amount of electricity that's being given to the heater as needed, and that keeps it at a bit of a tighter range. And Herp stats are really good thermostats in general. The only thing is, a starter Herp stat that can only control a single heating unit is anywhere from $100 to $150. 100 is usually if you're lucky to find one used, and 150 is when you're finding one brand new. So they're very expensive, and for most people who aren't going to be incubating a lot of really expensive eggs, just a good quality on-off thermostat is a very good choice. I would recommend, if you can afford it, to get a Herp stat, but an on-off thermostat will work well if that's all you can afford. I understand a Herp stat is a lot of money for somebody who just wants to, incubate their leopard geckos for fun, and then, raise and maybe sell the hatchlings. So, if you want to get just a cheap $20 on-off thermostat, that works as well. Just make sure you calibrate it really well, and be prepared to have a higher amount of eggs that die in the incubation process. That's just a byproduct of having larger temperature fluctuations, so you need to be prepared for that if you use an on-off thermostat. This is the Inkbird Stc-1000f Thermostat. This one, I actually built it into the front of my incubator here. I've loved it so far. It's really great. So far I have it set for 88 degrees Fahrenheit, and I have it set for a 1 degree difference, which basically means it will get to the set temperature of 88 degrees Fahrenheit before shutting off, and then it will go down to 87 degrees. That's 1 degree below the set temperature of 88, so that's the 1 degree difference, before turning the heat back on. That's the only reason I had the 1 degree difference is because that's the lowest it could go. It could go up to 15 degrees difference, I believe. It could go down to 1 degree difference. So I just put it down to 1 degree because I wanted as small of a difference as possible. And so far it's worked really well. This up here is an extremely accurate temperature gauge. It was $200, and it's actually my dad's. He uses it for heating and air conditioning. My dad does heating and air conditioning for a living, so he uses this thermometer for his for heating and air conditioning. He needed a really accurate one, and this one is great for that. This has been on for all day, and so far the minimum temperature it's gotten to has been 87 degrees, and the maximum it's gotten to is 88.5. So it's a 1.5 degree fluctuation. So this is a pretty good thermostat. I really like it so far, and it's worked really well for me. If you see in there, I did all my wiring inside a handy box with wire nuts, and that worked really well. And it's kind of a mess in there, but you can see the other end of the thermostat in there, and then a bunch of wiring, and then that is the oldest egg, which should be hatching in a couple weeks here. So fingers crossed that should work. The other night I actually candled that egg, and there was a dark shape, which is the baby, and it actually moved when I candled it. So the baby is definitely alive, and hopefully in a couple weeks here I should have a baby leopard gecko. These two also have eggs in them. They're both these ones are actually clutch mates. This one, its clutch mate, actually died early on in incubation, but I believe that was from genetic defects that wouldn't allow it to live anyway. So far this incubator has been doing really well, and I think it's all because of this thermostat. So this is a really great thermostat. It's just an on-off thermostat, but it works really well, and I will definitely put a link to that in the description. Okay, so now that we've done the thermostats, I want to go through the heating devices. So with me today I have 3 different choices for a heating device in an incubator. The first one I don't really recommend in an incubator, and I will explain why in a minute. And then the second 2, both will work really well. So the first one is the Fluker's 5.5-inch clamp lamp, or any reptile or other light fixture. The reason I don't like these as my heating device in an incubator is because the ceramic, so early on in the incubation of the eggs I showed you just a minute ago, I had a viewing light. It was just an LED light bulb that didn't give off almost any heat at all, but it was screwed into this and it was turned on 24/7. Well, I turned it on, and 3 hours later I noticed that it was 92 inside the egg boxes, which is getting close to their higher temperature limits. So I was kind of scared, so I shut everything down and moved the eggs into a Huvabator temporarily, and tried to figure out what was wrong. Well, come to find out, the ceramic part here and the bulb was actually warm, and in such a small space it generated enough heat to where it actually caused problems inside the incubator. So I don't recommend these as a heater because the ceramic will get warm really fast and then it will stay warm. So if the thermostat turns it off when it gets just warm enough, there will still be heat transfer going on, so it'll result in wider temperature fluctuations because ceramic takes a while to heat up and then it takes a while to cool down. So I don't really like these as my heating device. Same thing with the heat bulbs. They just get heat and then they get heat too slowly and then release it too slowly. So for other purposes, like heating a gecko's tank, these are great, but I don't think they work very well for an incubator for that reason. The next thing that that you can use is an undertank heater, or a UTH. So here with me today, I actually have an undertank heater that I'm going to be using to heat the hatchlings I'm raising, or will be raising once my eggs hatch. So it's an undertank heater, in case you don't know, is just a heating pad that has an adhesive side that sticks to the one side of your the side or the bottom of your terrarium or wherever you're going to be heating, and then it generates heat when you plug it in. So right here I have a heat pad that's stuck to the bottom of this plastic 6-quart Sterilite tub, and then I also taped it on with foil tape because I didn't think it was tight enough. So this is a very good heating option for leopard geckos in general, because it provides them with belly heat, and leopard geckos are belly baskers, and as such, belly heat helps them more than heat from above does. So these work really well. Just stick a larger one to the bottom of the incubator, like I've done with the heat tape. You'll be able to see a little better in a minute. but just stick it to the bottom, hook it up to the thermostat, and it should work well. I especially think it's really good to use one of these if you're using an Inkbird thermostat. I haven't used it, but the only reason I think it's better to use one of these with an Inkbird thermostat is because the Inkbird thermostats not only need a plug, but they also need either would need a plug to they would not only need something like this to plug into the wall, but they also need an outlet to plug the heating device into. So what you can do is if you're using a heating pad, you can cut off the cord somewhere and use this end of the cord for the power to the thermostat, and use the other end to connect the heating device to the thermostat. So you could probably do that also with heat tape, but you'd also have to get a cord set for heat tape. I like heat tape because it heats up very quickly and then it loses heat very quickly. So it helps prevent temperature fluctuations because as soon as the thermostat shuts it off, it starts losing heat. So it helps keep the temperature in the correct range. But a heat pad will also work very well. I just don't recommend that you use a light fixture for the reasons I've already stated. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take out the egg crate that I'm using as an egg box. And sorry if you hear me sniffling. I'm fighting a cold right now, so my voice is a little weird, and I do have sniffles. So sorry for that. But in here I have my heating device, which is FlexWatt heat tape. This is 11-inch FlexWatt heat tape, and I wired it in using just the soldering method. If you don't know how to do that, you can find out online. It's very simple. I haven't done a video on that yet, but I probably will next time I have to deal with this stuff. But basically, I wired it in, covered it in packing tape, because packing tape is plastic, so it does not conduct electricity. Then on the same side here, and then over here, when I cut it, there's a bit of the copper bust that's showing, so I covered that with packing tape as well. You really got to be careful when you're dealing with heat tape, because you are dealing with 120 volts when it's plugged in, so it can give you a nasty shock or start fires. So you want to be really careful with this stuff, but it is great when it's used properly. So I have it taped down with some more of that foil tape. Foil tape is very resistant to heat, and it does conduct electricity, so you have to be careful with that. But you can fasten the heat tape down with foil tape. That works very well. Same thing over here, this side. This is not a very big strip of FlexWatt, but it's enough to heat the entire thing. I haven't tried this yet, but I'm thinking if I was even to just have like a small strip of FlexWatt, and just like put it along the middle here, I could just heat the entire incubator. My only concern would be that it wouldn't heat the air fast enough to prevent temperature fluctuations, but I want to experiment with that, but for now I just use a large piece because it definitely works. So yeah, I've just been using a large piece for my incubators, and a large piece definitely works, and yeah, so also, in each of these corners I have 3.5 inches of 2-inch PVC piping, and that just holds up the egg box platform, which is egg crate light panel from Home Depot. You can get 3 incubators worth of this stuff for $20. It's a 4x2 foot sheet of it, and I know most people aren't going to need this much, but that's all it comes in, so you gotta just use that. But yeah, it works very well. Just gotta cut it down to size with like wire cutters or something. It works very well, and you probably already have to have wire cutters to wire in an Inkbird thermostat anyway. So this works very well, and I really like it. So then the cord from the heat tape just comes out of it, out of the incubator, and then I just put my lid on, and I can start heating up the incubator and getting that ready for crickets or leopard gecko's eggs. I also have 2 viewing windows here, and as you can see, they're just a viewing window. It's not really anything anything special, but it's Lexan polycarbonate that I use silicone to glue to the inside of the incubator. Lexan polycarbonate works as a relatively good insulator, so that works pretty well for my purposes, and whatever heat will escape isn't big enough to cause any concern. So yeah, that's the incubator. It's really simple. This is just the one I use for crickets because the on-off thermostat isn't the best for higher quality reptiles, and I like using an Inkbird thermostat where I am going to use an on-off one, but for crickets, like I said, they're a little hardier than reptiles, so it doesn't really matter as much to have a high quality thermostat. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to check out my website at herphusbandry.weebly.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.